Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my continuation of my book reading of The Whispering Nights. Chapter 7. Finding Martha. She must be here, whispering Susie. Now what we'll do. The house was so large and important looking. She was afraid, not only of Morgan, but also of the owners, who could appear at any moment and ask what they were doing here. William was thinking hard. Morgan's probably hiding here somewhere. We'll have to look for her. You aren't frightened, are you? Oh no, said Susie quickly. I know, suggested William. Let's try and find the man who was driving the rolls the other day. Mr. Steele's driver. Perhaps he'll tell us where Martha is. All right, said Susie. Look, that must be him. Around the side of the house, where the garages are. Go on, you ask him. But William hesitated. His hands felt hot and wet, and his heart was beating loudly. The man who was sitting outside the garage, reading a newspaper, looked perfectly normal. But you never know. William breathed deeply a few times and walked bravely out into the sunshine. The man looked up. Yes, he said coldly. What do you want? It's about the rolls, said William. The girl who got into this morning. She's a friend of ours. There's been a mistake. She didn't really want to come here. We've got to take her home, please. Do you know where she is? The man stared at William. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. There isn't any girl here, as far as I know. The rolls hadn't been out today. Yes, it has, said William desperately. We saw it. In Steeple Hampden. Perhaps Mrs. Steele was driving it. She can't drive, said the man. I always drive the rolls. And I'm telling you, it hasn't been out today. Now go away, or there will be trouble. She told me to make sure there are no strangers around, and she gets angry if anyone disobeys her. William moved backwards, his heart beating uncomfortably. Sorry, I'll go now. He ran back to where Susie was hiding and told her what the man had said. He wasn't telling lies, he added. I just don't understand about the car. The sun was no longer shining, and a cool wind was blowing around them. You know, said Susie, I don't like it here. I'm frightened, and that's a fact. Oh, said William, relieved. Are you? So am I. But we got to go on. We've got to find Martha. The only thing we can do is to look for her in the house. They walked quietly around to the back of the house, where they found an open door and went in. They were in a large, dark room, full of heavy, uncomfortable-looking furniture. They could hear voices in the kitchen. But they did not meet anybody. Taking their shoes off, they walked straight through the hall and then up the wide stairs. The stone floor was ice under their feet, and they felt terribly afraid. If one of the doors opens now, but nothing happened. One by one, they opened the doors on the first floor. Bathrooms, bedrooms, cupboards. And then they found themselves in a larger bedroom, where a woman's dress lay on a chair. Through the open windows, they could see the garden and someone on the white horse riding up to the front door. Susie suddenly felt very cold, and she looked at William. Yes, he whispered, I can feel her too. And then Susie saw it, lying on the carpet in the corner. A sweet paper, red and white, the kind that her mother sold in the village shop. Together she and William ran to the door on the other side of the room and pushed it open. They were looking into each other, into another, much smaller room. Martha was sitting there in the middle of the room, staring at the wall with a half-full packet of sweets beside her. Oh, Martha, we were so worried about you, said William. I'm so glad we found you. Are you all right? Susie felt very relieved. Crossly, she said, We've been looking everywhere for you. You are stupid, Martha. The door wasn't locked. Why didn't you just walk out? Martha looked at them with polite interest, but said nothing. Martha, said William, what's the matter? Don't you know who we are? Yes, said Martha dully. You are William. She is Susie. Susie took Martha's arm. Come on, Martha. Morgan will be back in any minute. That's right, said Martha calmly. She'll be back soon. Help me, William, said Susie angrily. We'll have to make her come with us. Between them, they pulled Martha to her feet and back into the larger room. They had almost reached the door when they heard footsteps on the stairs. William hesitated, but Susie said, There's no other way out. We've got to get down the stairs. Holding Martha's hands, they opened the door and ran out. Morgan was waiting for them on the stairs. She was wearing a black jacket and high, shiny riding boots. Her face was white and frightening, her eyes dark and terrible. But before she had time to turn and catch them, William and Susie, pulling Martha between them, had reached the bottom of the stairs and were running out of the open front door into the bright air. They hurried through the gardens towards the road, running from tree to tree and avoiding any open ground. For 5 minutes they ran without speaking or looking behind them. We better not stop, gasped Susie. We must just get to Chipping. We'll be alright, where there are a lot of people. They ran on, with Susie still pulling Martha by the hand. Now there was a distant beating sound, and the ground seemed to tremble. The noise was getting louder, and Susie could not stop herself looking over her shoulder. Behind them, coming closer and closer, was a dark figure on a large white horse. It was chasing them. They could hear the animal breathing hard as they ran the last 200 meters through the trees. Only Martha seemed reluctant to get away, and Susie had to push and pull her. They climbed over the wall and dropped down onto the road. There was a bus at the bus stop, and they jumped on, just as it was beginning to move away. White and exhausted, they threw themselves into a seat. William paid for their tickets with some coins he had in his pocket. But this bus only goes to Chipping, he whispered to Susie. We'll have to go to the bus station and wait for a bus to the village. He looked worriedly at Martha. She's still under Morgan's spell, isn't she? Perhaps she'll be alright if we keep her away from Morgan. The bus had reached the town. They got off and began to walk through the busy streets towards the bus station. The town was crowded with people doing their shopping. Nobody looked at them. There were just 3 children in a hurry. How could we ever explain to anybody what really happened to us, thought William. We're fighting a deadly battle against Morgan, the kind of battle other people have been fighting for hundreds of years. It's like living in a different time. These people just wouldn't understand. All the time the sky was growing darker, and rain was beginning to fall. Suddenly William noticed the Rolls parked on the opposite side of the road. It was empty. Morgan was standing near it, wearing a coat and black glasses and moving her head from side to side like a snake. At that moment, Martha saw her and made a little sound. Morgan looked straight at them and began to move forward across the road. "Quick," said Susie, and they hurried away, pulling Martha along with them. "Where shall we go?" said William desperately. "She'll trap us if we aren't careful." Suddenly Susie said, "The church. Miss Applewhite said Morgan hates the sign of the cross, and churches always have a back door." They hurried on, hoping that Morgan would not see where they were going, and finally reached the church. William opened the big heavy wooden door, and they stepped into a dark coolness smelling of stone and flowers. And that was the end of chapter 7, Finding Martha. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next chapter. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.